southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down.
What's going on, guys? Tristan and Tony here with the Zero Duck 30 podcast. We're back with another episode. What's up, Tony?
What up, son?
Today we have George Parker on. He's the founder of Blue Bird Waterfowl, and you guys may have seen him on the Dr. Duck podcast, a couple other podcasts, but he has a super unique product, and we're excited to have him on here. What's going on, George?
What's up, boys?
You know, little bush lattes, having a podcast with some fellow waterfowl smashers. It's great.
Right on, right on.
Yeah, so we're excited to have you on, man. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Oh, today's an exciting day. I know that we had to push this back a little bit, and I'm standing here with my daughter right now packing up product because it's here. So,
oh, good.
Yes.
Yeah, our pre-orders have been completed. We're going to continue the pre-order sale up through this weekend, which I think is going to be the 15th of October. So if you're listening to this after that, I don't know. What do you guys think? A coupon code? ZeroDuck30, all lowercase?
That'd be cool.
Man.
Yeah, let's do awesome. Zero Duck 30, right? All lowercase. And we'll do a 20% off for you guys for a couple months if you're hearing this later, if it's not on sale yet. But yeah, we're packing up product right now, man. I mean, and honestly, like that's why I had to push the podcast back a little bit, because this is a lot of stuff here.
Man,
we got silent plates, we got sound plates, we've got 1,500 carbon fiber rods right here. We've got 1,000 splash plates. We got 400 cases. I mean, my house is full of stuff. My wife is ready for us to start shipping it. I can tell you that.
Yeah, man.
Dude,
Good.
This is so awesome. I'm happy that we get to be a part of it. I mean,
it's kind of a unique kind of thing. That's
watching
sweet,
it develop. Man. This is so cool.
It's a big day, guys.
Is this the stuff from the Kickstarter and all that? Is this like
this is everything, man. This is everything. Everything that's been ordered so far is here. Plus we have another 280 left, I think, in stock. So
wow.
Dude, I mean, honestly, it would not surprise me if we sell out.
Wow.
So get on it.
That's so cool, man.
You heard what he said, you guys.
Thank you for extending that offer to us and our listeners, man. That's awesome. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll definitely promote that on the podcast, and as long as you want to do that, we're right here to help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reality of this project is that it's built by waterfowlers, right? And this is something from the very get-go I wanted to design for duck hunters, and we've got some products coming out for land duck hunters and for goose hunters and just waterfowls in general. But we can get to that a little bit later. But the reality of our company is it's about the people. It's for the people. There's a few big companies that are out there that are kind of running the show, and they do have some excellent customer service and some great products. I just want to fit in. I just want to fit in, guys. You know what I'm saying? I want to be a part of these big four families and really get out there and show that Blue Bird Waterfowl means business. And we're putting out a really, really high quality product, which is kind of what's been a big delay in this entire project. But the reality is that it's built by us, for us, and it's designed for duck hunters. So I try to call every one of my clients personally, and where we've gotten today is only because of the community that we built around it.
Wow. You know what?
So cool, man.
This is the coolest opening to a podcast show that we have had in almost 30 episodes, dude. This is cool. I didn't even expect this to get this crazy good. I mean, what a great way to open it. I mean,
for
folks,
sure.
We're talking about hearing it as it happens. I mean, here's a person that, and we're going to get into it, but that is just like you and I, that we're just normal people, passionate about sport, want to build the sport, and all of a sudden a drunk garage idea with your buddies comes to life, and next thing you know, there's the Animator or whatever it is. I just think that is such a cool thing, and thank you for letting us be a part of it. So let's kind of drill down a little bit, and we're going to jump back into some more of this stuff, but let's try and drill down a little bit, kind of give our listeners a little bit about, who is George? Who are you as a family man? your personal life, what got you into waterfowl, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely family first. You know, I am pretty much a stay-at-home dad with my kids. I do real estate for my main source of income, but I was a fishing boat captain for many years. Started fishing back professionally in 2007, and I fished that way up until 2017 when I moved up here to Santa Rosa. And I got into college because I wanted to kind of change the dynamic of my life and prove to myself that I could do something that I hadn't done before. And that was get a degree, you know, at 32 years old or whatever.
Wow.
I was back then. And so I went back to school. I took on a ton of curriculum, and I didn't end up getting my bachelor's, but I got 4 associate's degrees with the 4.0 and, you know, graduated, you know, top of my class. And what really changed my life was the kids coming into my life and my wife coming into my life. And from there, you know, then the pandemic hit, and that's when I really decided it's time to do something from the house. So I got into real estate a few years ago. That actually took off. Been doing pretty well in the last couple of years. Things are obviously changing now. But you know, we needed some family time, and we got that with the pandemic. So moving into waterfowl, but it was back in about 2009, I think. So that's, how long has that been now? What is it? 2020? 13 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. So not that long, you know, I mean, the reality of it is I haven't been doing this my whole life, but I really fell in love with it the first time I went out. And I think what I fell in love with mostly was just the uniqueness of being able to do whatever I wanted to do. I set my blind up the way I want to set it up. I make my decoys the way I want to make them. I set them out the way I want to set them. And you get to experiment with so many different aspects and different designs. And I mean, even in the middle of the day to go, okay, this ain't working. The birds are landing over there. I'm going to switch this up. And then you put the half moon out and all of a sudden you got birds landing in your face. Right. So just seeing that dynamic of being able to change things and be unique with it, I just really fell in love with it.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, talking to you, George, it seems like just the way you're speaking about it is, it's kind of almost like it's like a chess match for you, the intrigue of it.
I could agree with that. Absolutely. I don't like getting beat.
Yeah.
I don't like getting beat. So, I mean, my first bird I ever shot, I think it was, I don't even know. I don't even think it might've been a spoon or something. It was something silly. It was some silly dirty bird down in the Salton Sea. And I ended up having to hike. God, it felt like 500 yards. It was probably about 40 yards through that mud. But it took me about 45 minutes to get that bird, but I was determined, right? So set goals for yourself. Challenge yourself and follow through. And that's what we're doing here with Blue Bird is we decided to create this product. We knew it was going to be something special, and I just dove in head first. And, you know, now the whole family's involved, and we've got over 550 units sold, and we're shipping out over 330 packages.
Love that.
Hopefully by Monday. And, you know, just proving to myself that I can do it.
What a great middle finger to the Shark Tank, dude. I mean, I freaking love it. Dude, this is America.
Yeah.
This is America, and this is a young man busting his ass for success. You know, and young to me. You know what I mean? and when I say that. But, man, I just love it. It's so cool. So, here's where my brain is you got into the sport, so passionate about it, and to walk us through in detail, really, that day when you thought about this idea.
Yeah, so you know, it's a day that'll live in infamy. It was one of the worst hunts we've had. It was with some really good people, though. I met some really good people. I was out there hunting with, I think it was a detective. I can't remember his name. But I met him for the first time, but he was like a legit, I work murder case detective. Like, it was crazy cool.
Wow.
Because all my wife watches his murder show. So I was like picking his brain the whole day because we had nothing else to do. Because there were no birds and we were real far away from home. So it wasn't like, hey, let's pack up early. It was like, well, we're going to have to see where this goes. And it went nowhere. I mean, it was a dead day. Bluebird sky, but we could hear them around, and we knew that there was life around. We just couldn't really get anything working for us. And what really upset me was that we had been hunting. I think it was our 3rd day in a row, so our pulsator was done dead by that time. and just didn't have enough time to charge it in between hunts.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really didn't have any motion. I left my jerk rig at home. We're hunting a rice field that just was just absolutely still water. I couldn't get any more still. And looking out at that water, I'm seeing these spinning wing decoys. We had 3 or 4 of them out there over the water, but the water underneath them is not moving at all. And I couldn't help but think we're missing something here. We got lithium battery powered ducks sitting in our spread, and they're not doing anything to the water. And that's kind of where this started. And it manipulated itself through a few different ideas, but it came to a head on the way home when my buddy David Chan and I were driving back home. We really just put our brains together and thought about the project. And, David's not a real go-getter, put himself out there kind of guy. But, he's been looking for an opportunity to, invest some of his savings into something different than what he's been doing, kind of with me with school, right? He wanted to put himself out there financially to be able to try something new. So he was the initial investor in the project, which really gave this project life. And, the Animator was born on the ride home from a rice field in Northern California.
So, George, I got to ask, hearing you say that, one of the things that we perceive as a problem in Florida is versus when we go hunt Arkansas or some of these Midwest states.
I love where you're going with this.
So, in those Midwestern states, you have this constant wind. I mean, not every day, but more days than not, you're going to have a prevailing wind, even if it's 10 miles an hour. The problem with Florida is you might be lucky if you get an 8-mile-per-hour wind.
Maybe.
So, in a lot of the areas we hunt are like these reservoirs that, it's 4 foot, 3.5 foot deep. So you're hunting mostly divers. You might get some teal or whatever. But, so you're putting your mojos on we put them on rebar to get them up out of the water.
Yeah.
But, the thing is it's thick with hydrilla. So even your jerk rigs and stuff, unless you clear a path for your jerk rig, it ain't really with a rake. Yeah, it really ain't going to work. But to have something like your product, this is what really intrigued me based on where we hunt.
Yeah.
On those days, most days, I would say 95% of the days we hunt, it's 4 to 6 mile per hour wind. Your decoys are not moving
or less
at all because of the hydrilla or whatever else. And then to have that water stir up in your decoy spread, I think there's really something that I know it's going to be great in a lot of different states, but Florida in such a state where you're so limited on wind, we just saw a great value there.
Oh yeah, and I mean, we hunt in places that are thick with ducks in Florida, and the hydrilla, no kidding, is so thick that you don't even need rigs. You just throw them out there.
Yeah, you just throw
them out there because they don't even move.
They're not floating away. Yeah.
No, not at all. It's impossible for them to move. And but for example, in some of the areas there, the ringers just love it to death, and you get several thousand ringers, or something like that. But that's a great point that you bring up, Tristan, because everybody sees it. What's the general idea of somebody seeing this? It's the rice field, right? It's the private land timber. It's whatever, because that's what it's kind of like the greenhead that steals the duck hunting, right? And so that's a great perspective to bring it in, because it's not just Florida. It's Florida. It's Georgia. It's South Carolina, North Carolina,
Texas.
Virginia's. I'm talking about all the way up the coast, all the way down the Pacific coast. You're going to have that same kind of environment. As waterfowlers, we experience all kinds of extreme weather conditions. Stay bone dry and warm with Frog Togs hunting gear. You can check them out at frogtogs.com or at frogtogshunt on Instagram.
Louisiana, Texas.
And different Louisiana, Texas. Exactly. You will find that exact same kind of environment, but it's not necessarily the staple environment that you see on TV.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and a good point to match against the lack of wind, because our product does make ripples under your bird. But it's not going to make waves in your spread, right? A jerk rig will always be by far the best way to make waves in your spread. But the jerk rig has a couple of flaws. You know, if you hunt with a dog, you're going to be dealing with them tangles, and it doesn't make any true bird sound. When a bird goes underwater, it doesn't go pakoosh, right? It doesn't sound like somebody threw a boulder in the water.
Right.
There's a certain vibration to the air. There's a certain harmonic that happens, and these birds are familiar with that type of sound.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is more important about what the Animator brings to those still conditions, is a sound. So you get the ripples that perpetually move away from the device, because our utility patent does cover putting ripples underneath a stationary bird. So if your bird is on a rod and stuck in the water, our patent covers the right to create ripples underneath that stationary object. And there's a reason for that, because all these floating decoys and motion decoys that are taking over the industry are sitting in the water that they're disturbing. So if you're in the water and you move, you're going to move the water, but your next movement moves the water differently. And those ripples interact with each other and sometimes counteract each other. And that can calm the water around it, where our machines actually spin over the water perfectly silent in a stationary motion. When that paddle hits the water, it hits the water in the same spot every single time without fail at the same interval. Yeah. And that causes that perpetual ripple to go away. But on the same note, for those stale conditions, this sound, guys, and I know I haven't talked to you guys about it because I haven't been messaging you much with being so busy, but our prototype testers from all over the country are coming back with the exact same reports. Not only are they epic, successful reports, but they're sound-related reports. That the product sound, the clapping sound that it makes when it impacts the water. I think we need to step back here for a minute. Let's talk about what this thing is, because we haven't really told your listeners, for those who haven't heard of this Animator, this attaches to a spinning wing decoy that you already own.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So this product connects to the bird where your wing normally connects, and then the wing goes on the outside of it. So it's a completely new concept. Nobody's done this before. We've got 3 utility patents and a design patent covering all sorts of aspects of doing this particular thing. And you put this Animator in between the wing and your bird, and then the camshaft lifts and drops a carbon fiber rod that goes down to the water, and on that rod is a plate. And we specifically designed this plate to make this clapping sound I was just talking about. But we also designed the plate to be able to move up and down the rod with a set screw. So you can set the bird at the height you want it, and then set the plate to the bird height. You don't need to set the bird to the plate height, which is a big concern that we had moving into this, is how do we make this usable where it's easy? Go put your bird out, put the Animator on, get it set, and run with it. And that's what we ended up doing. And so that's what the Animator is, and the sound has been a huge aspect of that.
And I mean, it totally makes sense to us, but you know, we look at things from a deer hunter perspective. Like, we look at a lot of our duck hunting stuff from a deer hunter perspective, which, you know, somebody that's been a waterfowl hunter their entire life that's never deer hunted may not look at things the same way we do.
Right.
And, you know, sound is such, along with smell and other things, right? Sound is such a vital thing. Obviously, calling an animal, you know, duck calling, you know, you can't argue with that. But, you know, the things with deer hunting, like rattling antlers or, you know, your grunt calls or whatever, it's so subtle. But it makes sense to me, listening to it as a primarily deer hunter most of my life, that why just the little thing that splashing against the water, why would that not make sense? If I'm a duck that's seen 9,000 different spreads and I've heard just quacks, but I'm thinking as a duck, why am I not hearing these wings, or why am I not hearing splashes on the water? It makes sense to me why that would be more enticing.
Let me tell you guys this. You want me to blow you guys' mind? I'm gonna get
blow our mind, bro.
Blow
our mind.
I'm gonna get pawpaw on you for a minute. All right. I know guys that I deer hunted with back in the day that would take a 5-gallon bucket up in the deer stand with them, full of rocks, and they would take handfuls of them the whole time they hunted and throw them up in the air, so they sound like acorns falling. And they would shoot the shit out of deer.
Let's stop right there and talk about that, dude. I want to stop you right there and talk about that because how excited you are about that aspect, that unique aspect in making sounds in nature that are attracting these wild animals. I'm going to tell you guys something right now. With these reports that we got back from these prototype testers, this is something that is going to change the way people waterfowl hunt, period. End of story. It's the first natural sound that's ever been used from a device in waterfowl hunting. Vocal calls have dominated waterfowl hunting from the beginning of time, and there's some old timers that sure pat their hand on the water to make it sound like the wings are patting. It's the same thing as your dude's doing with the bucket of rocks. Same point that some people have done this with amazing results and kept it quiet.
Yes.
And I didn't mean to bring this into the forefront, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is in the forefront. It's changing people's hunts. Guys are telling me that teal that would normally buzz by them, we've all been backdoored by a spread of teal. Mm-hmm. We get that flock of birds coming through, and it's turning and working and landing. And when there's 6 spinners out there in this dude's report from Oklahoma, 6 spinners he has out in his spread, that flock lands on the Animator. On it. Mm. Then coming in from Alaska, we're hearing the same thing. Dude, I don't know what it is. It's the birds are trying to land on it, he says. Wow. Then we got reports coming in from Virginia. Red Rising TV is going to do a special article on this thing, and they've been really helpful with our project. So I sent him a couple of animators to test out himself, and he's out in a wood duck hunt, and he's telling me the same thing. The bird's not only trying to land on it, he said that a hen wood duck tried to land so close to it they couldn't even shoot the bird because they would have shot the decoy. But they had a special thing happen that morning.
Wow. All right, so
they had 12 birds swimming up towards the decoys. And for me, maybe our birds are a little bit more wary, but I don't see very often a bird swim into a decoy spread. They'll swim towards it, but swimming into the spread is very, very uncommon for us where we hunt here.
Oh, absolutely.
These guys said the same thing out there, that these birds would normally not pass by a still floating decoy. But these 12 wood ducks, public land hunting, swam right into the spread and stopped about 15 feet away from the Animator, and we're just listening to it pat the water.
Wow.
So when you're talking about this bucket of rocks and how vital it was to that dude's success, I got to correlate that directly with this product and its sound that it makes, changing the entire game for waterfowl hunters moving forward. My biggest fear, guys, is somebody trying to rip this off from me because we've got this utility patent pending. We got 3 utility patents, design patent pending, trying to protect the making this sound. We discovered it by accident. We ran with it and pushed through the project, designing this plate with 14 chambers that spits water in 7 different directions. And the 14 chambers make this very unique pat, this water pat sound that the wings make when they hit the water. Well, and it's absolutely helping finish ducks all over the country.
Well, George, you know, one thing I would think that's in your favor along those things is, I don't know the history of of the spinning wing decoy, but I would think that Mojo's got to be like the first or whatever. But then, you know, there's Lucky Duck and there's Clone and all these other different, different brands that have came along, and they're all successful. But I got to think that, you know, because you're the first, that it's just like Sitka, for example. How badass is their stuff? If you don't want to deny it, you can, I mean, we don't have anything with Sitka, you know, whatever. But like, if you're a guide, you know, 60 days out of a year, you're using Sitka stuff. That's just the way it is. So it's like, to be the first into something really great technology-wise, I mean, surely there's going to be somebody, somewhere that's going to figure out a way to rip something off. But I think that how unique and in front of the game you are, it's like the iPhone. I mean, you're the iPhone of like sound in the duck hunting community. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let's talk more about that. So there's a little bit of back history to the way the spinning wing decoy came about. About 22 years ago, Mojo came out with this spinning wing decoy, and they had a patent on it.
Yeah.
All right. Then Lucky Duck, a few years in, bought the licensing rights to make a spinning wing decoy. And that's why it's been Lucky Duck and Mojo for the last 20 years. But over the last couple of years, we're starting to see...
Let me ask you this real quick, George. Not that
go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt you. I just think this is vital. Is the patent, is it like a 10-year on a patent?
6 years.
6 years?
I believe they're up to 20, depending on what you get.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that, George. It depends on what you get.
Okay, continue. I was just curious about that.
Yeah, no, and it is a protected item. So the bottom line is somebody can try to rip us off with what we're doing right here.
Mm-hmm.
If that person or somebody you know is listening to this right now, I can tell you right now, we're going to fight you on it. I don't care how many loans I got to get, how many venture capitalists I got to call. It doesn't matter how many hunters I got to get backing us. We're going to get this Blue Bird Waterfowl community together, and we're going to shut whoever tries to burn us on this down. My second point on that is if you're interested in trying this out for yourself, get a licensing deal with us. Support the small business. Support our little family here in Santa Rosa.
Don't be an
because
ass.
we came upon this trying to build a product to move water underneath the bird, and it had a different result, but now we've got this result covered, and we're excited to spread it around the country and help whoever wants to use it. But there's a proper legal way to do that.
Yeah.
So we have reached out to Lucky Duck, and Tim Noe. I wrote Tim Noe a letter over at Lucky Duck and told him, if you want to be a part of this, because I know he had major success with licensing through Mojo. If he wants to be a part of this, to get a hold of me early, because I would love to work with a respectable company and help spread this through the waterfowl community. I don't want it all for myself. God knows I can't do all the work myself.
What a great, y'all, listen, whether you have been in business in your personal life or not, this is a very important thing I want to point out about a guy that's not only putting his family on the line to create a product, but he's making a very vital point. We're all on the same team. We are. And if you want to take the dirty approach, guess what? That's a short-lived life.
Yeah.
It is. Greed will get you nothing in this life long term. Greed, I'm not going to get all biblical on everybody, but I'm going to tell you, I've been around for a little bit, and greed will get you nothing. And George, I love the approach that you're coming to this business as a catch-all community type of system that, hey, you know what? You want to make some money on this? Just be respectful of the fact that I sat there one day and I put my family on the line to put our own money at stake to try to make this business. Be respectful of that. And I honor that. I think that's I appreciate you bringing that up.
I appreciate that. I mean, we worked a long time to do this, and we're not opposed to working with some people, to get more people involved with the project. Obviously, we brought in a couple partners. I'm not sure if you guys follow us that tightly, but we brought in David Maestas from The Finisher.
Yep. Do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like Morning Wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order.
He expressed interest in getting involved with our project, and we reached out to him and said, hey, come on in, let's do this. So he's a partial owner of the company now. We're not opposed to working with people to help get this out to the community properly, but David Maestas is dealing with a unique situation right now too, where there's somebody trying to copy his finisher. I think they call it the triptych or something. Basically it's a finisher with a little measuring device on it, and that's how they tried to get around the patent. These things are happening in the waterfowl community. It blows my mind that people are still supporting these companies that are stealing other people's ideas. So, moving kind of out of this topic, maybe as a segue, I'll finish it off with just saying, if somebody does take this and try to go with it without Bluebird involved, I would just ask that anybody who's hearing this, tell the rest of the waterfowl community, dude, let's honor this small company. Let's keep purchasing them here. Let's get the money together to stop whoever tries to do that, because reality is that the people that are involved with this company from the beginning are going to be remembered. We're gonna have, in fact, I think everybody that's ordering from us is getting a very awesome coupon code inside their box that's for life.
Wow.
We just want to make sure that people know that if you're supporting us now, we're not going to forget you later.
Wow.
That's awesome, George. And the thing is that the waterfowl community, like as we've come to know it, is we're a small, and you talk about 400 and something million or whatever it is in the United States. And, 1 million duck stamps are sold a year, roughly, give or take. we're a very niche, small community in the terms of the United States, and in some areas, the duck hunting community does such a great job of supporting each other and banding together. But then some issues, you talk about public land in some states and something else, it's like we're enemies. And it's just, and not everybody's like that, but some people, it's like you take this enemy approach. And I love the way you're speaking about this because, as a whole, a niche community,
niche,
whatever
wash.
community, it's that's a great perspective.
Pronounced Nietzsche.
Okay, well there you go.
That's right. That's right.
It's a great perspective to take on it, man. It's like support your brother,
Yeah. Here's two things
Right.
I'm gonna throw you on the spot because I believe in what you're doing so much. Two things I'm gonna throw you on the spot for. I want, and I'll pay for them. I want 2 animators to take the Delta Thunder Outfitters for opening day and for the entire season, 0 Duck 30, every episode that we have at Delta Thunder, because we can't do it on public land. I want to put these on Cade's Lucky Ducks. I want to put them on our Mojos. I want to do a bit of a little documentary of recording how successful this product's going to be, y'all. And George, you're going to make it happen because
I believe you, man. I think
I can't wait to do. I'm excited about doing it.
Now are so in over our heads. Even you guys being involved with this, I think all of us together, we have no idea where this is going to go.
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now, the results.
Let us
just
be
incredible.
your test dummies. I mean that towards us, not as product, but let us do that, and I'll buy them, and we'll get a couple of them. I just told Tristan that we're going to take them. Tristan had to take a little break real quick, but we're going to film. We're going to film all year long using them at Delta Thunder Outfitters.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Because we can show, because Cade is a big ambassador, I guess you could say, of the Lucky Duck.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Fair enough to him.
Lucky Duck's got great products, man. I know a lot of guys hate on them, but there's going to be problems with every product. There's going to be problems with my product.
Yeah,
we'll handle it as it comes.
Well, we go beak to beak with him, on the Mojos, and he's like, "All right, you're gonna bring your Mojos, and we do that, But I'm interested to film this for everybody to show. I know this product's gonna be great already. Mm-hmm. All right, and so I can't wait to film it and release that, and we'll give you that as well. Right. What media we record. The second thing I'm gonna put you on the spot about is, we're going to make a connection. Mr. Brad Cohen, if you're listening to this tonight, we would love your students to get on the research.
Man, that's such a great point. Holy cow.
The research side of the claims that George already knows on the sound levels. I don't know if you heard our podcast with Mr. Cohen and about the what are they called?
ARUs, audio recording units.
Yeah, that they're putting all throughout the wilderness, and they're able to determine species. They can determine so much stuff from the sound.
Right.
That's human. That's human technology, dude. They've been talking about animal instincts forever. Yeah. And I would argue that there is an instinctual aspect to anyone's consciousness in the world, but we're not going to get philosophical right now.
Right.
Reality is hearing, scent, sight is exponentially greater with these wild creatures.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about a group of widgeon that are 150 yards up that have been beat down all the way the Atlantic Flyway, and they're getting down into the southern areas, and they respond to a whistle, a light whistle, because the loud ones are spooking them at that point. Late season, you can't be blowing all hard on that thing. So how are these birds responding to such a subtle call from such a distance?
Yeah.
And the reality of it is their hearing is so much exponentially greater than ours.
Yes.
Why should we assume at all that hearing the sound and the subtleties and the harmonics of wings batting in the water would not make a bird more comfortable to land, especially when the 15 other blinds in that public land area, that refuge, don't have it?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, one or two of these blinds have this padding sound. They're going to want to land there. That's just the facts.
Durr.
Exactly.
It's a Durr moment.
One thing that I want you to touch on, George, that I heard you talk on the Dr. Duck podcast is I think Billy brought up the point about battery life affecting your mojos, and it really blew my mind, like the stuff I don't have it on the top of my head, but I know you said some things about figures as far as how much it affected the battery life, and it wasn't like significant, really, right?
Right, it was unmeasurable.
Yeah.
I mean, we really could not find. I mean, I studied math in college. I love mathematics. I'm just a nerd when it comes to that. My kids hate me. Well, my son likes math, but my daughter does not like math.
I bet. How's your wife feel? That's what we really need to know.
She studied science, so she's into the mathematics also. But,
okay, all right.
Yeah, so but when we were looking at these, we ran some control decoys. So for those of you who are not familiar with kind of like scientific theory, controls are the bird without the wings. I'm sorry, without the animator. So we ran the birds without the animator next to the birds with the animator. We judged the time of how long these birds are lasting. And in fact, out at Game Fair in Minnesota, David Maestas had a bird out there running on 4 AA batteries. They had a Lucky Duck that was given to us by Tori from Lucky Duck. As sort of a test to say, hey, we're going to run our bird, we're going to run your bird. And they started them at the same time. And I think their bird ran 2 hours longer than ours after 2 full days of running.
Wow.
So when you're talking about whether or not this is going to make it through a hunt, to have a Lucky Duck running in the water with an animator attached to it on 4 AA batteries for an entire day, that's plenty long enough to have your hunt. And that's what we were really concerned about is this going to affect the battery life for your hunting day? And the answer to that is absolutely not. What thing you will notice, though, and it is a visual thing, is the wing speed. So if you have an animator attached to your bird, you're going to see a slight decrease in wing speed. And that kind of correlates, well, what does this do to the motors? Well, I could tell you right now, I mean, I'm not a 60-day-a-year hunter. You know, I probably hunt 30 days a year. But there are a lot of factors we took into consideration when we tested these. And one of them was just running it for as long as we possibly could. So we had these things running day in and day out. The only time we brought them in was to charge the batteries and put them back out and run them and run them and run them and run them. Hundreds of hours, running these things for hundreds of hours. And no change in motor status or speed.
Wow.
So, you know, I brought in a good friend of mine. His name's Steve Jacklin. I'm not sure if you can look him up or not, but he worked as an electrical engineer for NASA for many years. He's retired.
Oh, wow.
He's the father of one of my best friends, Neil Jacklin, who's also an electrical engineer, PhD. And I talked to both of them, and I brought them in about these motors. And I said, is what I'm doing okay? Is what I'm doing safe for these motors? And they said, even in NASA, when you can't physically see inside the motor to see what's going on, even in NASA science, they do this thing called run it till it breaks.
Wow.
and it's basically a check and see. It's let it work, let it do its business, and run it as long as you can and get as much data as you can from running it as long as you can. And that's what we did with these. So as a disclaimer, I can't guarantee that these things aren't going to have some negative effect on your motor or battery life in the long day future, but that's the reality of anything. I don't know the current situation of where you store your bird. If you store it in freezing conditions, that definitely has an aspect on your battery life.
Yeah.
If you run it 60 to 70 days a year, your mojos, spoiler alert, are going to run less years than somebody who hunts 20 days a year. Right. So it's just a matter of fact that we purchase these things and we use them as long as we can until they don't work, and we get new stuff, because that's what we do as waterfowl hunters.
Yeah.
Is we continue to use things as much as we possibly can until they're unusable, and then we replace them, which is kind of why we brought out this product in the first place, because everybody's got a mojo with a missing wing.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's got that mojo where they're like, shit, man, I cannot
or a bunch of holes in it.
Right? Okay, well, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I mean, you know, to have a bird sitting there that's kind of unusable, to be able to bring that bird back to life with the animator, you snap an animator on that bird with a missing wing, and all of a sudden you've got this patting sound, this wing pat sound in your spread. You've got motion added to your spread that you didn't have previously. You've got a tool that you can use. Instead of having to buy a new decoy, you can bring out this old decoy back into your spread.
Our partners at Huntwise are offering an exclusive discount for Zero Duck 30 followers. As an elite member, some of the features you'll immediately gain access to are Huntcast, Windcast, peak kill times, property lines, owner information and phone lookup, 250 map layers, unlimited offline maps, 3D maps, social media, and on top of it all, save up to 50% on some of the top hunting brands in the industry. Download and explore the #1 hunting tool set today and save 20% by using code DUCK30.
So there is a sustainability mindset behind Blue Bird Waterfowl. We obviously do not have a vision of damaging people's decoys by utilizing this, but I can tell you guys one thing. This product is extremely lightweight. It's a polypropylene plate, weighs about 6 grams. We got a carbon fiber rod. It weighs about 8 grams. The entire product itself is less than 30 grams. So, when we're talking about the effect that this is going to have on the motor, I'd like to bring up something called the booty shaker. You guys know what that is?
Intrigue us.
Okay. The booty shaker was put up on Mojo about 10 years ago, and it was their attempt to do what I did right. It was to move water underneath the bird. And granted, they had a good attempt at it. I'm not dogging on it. It just doesn't move the water the way the animator does. And I don't think anything else will move the water the way the animator does. Not to say that the animator moves more water than any other decoy. What I'm saying is the perpetual motion caused from that stationary decoy hitting the water, that motion moving the water that way, I don't think any other decoy does that.
And the studied sound that you already have facts of.
Right. So the booty shaker was designed to go onto your stationary rod. So you put your rod into the mud, and then you put the booty shaker pole onto the rod. And it kind of mimicked the way the rod looked, but it was at an angle. So the back of it would sit into the water, and then you put your decoy on over that rod. So the concept here, guys, is to have the decoy wings from their vibration spinning, shake the stake in the water hard enough to move that rod and wiggle it in the water. Okay. Now, obviously the birds don't shake that much on their own. They just don't. So what did Mojo do? Mojo, the king of spinning wing decoys, the person who created this, who chose the motor type, who designed this entire project, knew from an engineer mindset, it was safe for them to put a 1/4 ounce counterweight on one of their wings and shake the bejesus out of their bird.
Wow.
Right? From the motor shaft location. It wasn't It wasn't on
That's
the body.
So smart.
It was on the motor shaft, and it was shaking the bird so it would move that rod more.
Go Terry.
Now, granted, that product didn't work. Right. Granted, that product didn't work out the way that they thought that it would. I think you can still purchase one if you want. I think they're on clearance, $10 or something. But that idea is what gave me peace. What allowed me to move forward with this project is going, hey, if these engineers at this decoy company that designed this thing from the get-go are okay with shaking the living crap out of their bird via the motor shaft, my product doesn't shake the bird that much. It does wiggle the bird a little bit.
Point.
Obviously, it has a camshaft on it, so it does wiggle the bird a little bit, which I might argue that moving the bird a little bit is better than a perfectly still bird spinning its wings 360 degrees at 700 miles an hour.
Dude, you might be, listen, in 5-10 years, you might be making a bird that does flips. All right. I mean, straight up. I mean, because it does the right sound. It does the right thing, whatever. That is such a great point.
It's just something to consider when we're looking at what we want to judge this product by, because there's going to be trolls. There's going to be haters saying this, saying that. And there might be somebody who clips an animator on their bird and it stops working. But I can guarantee you, if they didn't clip the animator on that bird, it was going to stop working. There's going to be guys that are going to point the finger at this product and say that it may or may not have caused problems. And we have disclaimers in place, and you need to understand there is a risk of something happening because this is a brand new device. It's a brand new product, and we're not out to break people's decoys. But if you have an issue with the animator itself, we'll cover everything. If you have a problem with your decoy, we just simply can't cover it. We don't know the condition or how you keep it or how you hunt it, and that's just the bottom line.
And George, go ahead, Tony.
No. The one thing I just wanted, before we got too far away from it, was here's what I got to say to all of you super weird people that have to go on and have this rating that is stupid with different products and stuff. Is listen, back to the battery usage thing.
Of course.
If 4 AA's cost me $8 as a duck hunter to run my mojo,
rechargeables.
but I'm just saying, I'm just coming up with a number,
Right.
and it cost me $16, double that, to use this Animator product to make that difference in your spread. Dude, are you going to sacrifice $8? No, you're not. So for all those people like so worried about taking up 3% of their battery life or whatever it might be, my whole point is, in my mind, I see it as such a value that it should cost me more than that. All right, and that's just the point I'm going to make about that.
Right, yeah, and it's just something to consider, that we are taking a risk moving into this new territory, and our goal initially wasn't to come out with our own decoy or come out with our own device, but as more and more folks are moving to cheaper and cheaper products, trying to make a buck, I find it that we may have to come out with a completely waterproof, legitimate, keep it underwater for 10 minutes, no problem, 30 minutes, no problem, 10 hours, no problem. Legit waterproof motor that can run this Animator, even if it doesn't have a spinning wing decoy attached, even if it's just hitting the water. Because I moving through this project, I found more and more that I'm finding more peace and understanding in the sound being a massive part of this project growing forward. And I think that water motion in combination with that padding sound, it may drive us to putting out our own motor and or our own decoy at some point. But we'd like one of these big companies to step forward and say, hey, we want to work with you on this, and allow them to do that first.
Well, and George, one of the things about the hunting community as a whole is I think we all, for the most part, the guys that really spend the time out there, everybody's been through the cheap pair of waders. Everybody's been through the cheap shotgun, cheap whatever, you name it. And people that love what they do are willing to, like, no different than me. I'm in the market for a bow right now, a new bow. And I'm looking at, as much as I love the sport, like, that's going to determine how much money I want to put into this. And people are willing to pay for quality when you're talking about using it for, putting it through some stuff. And I think that, that you guys took quality into your construction of this is really important.
No, absolutely. We've taken as many steps as we can to provide a quality product. So yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So when you're talking about what the product is made with, the camshafts are made with an injected self-lubricating nylon. So I don't know what that means, and I can't tell you. But what I've heard is that
it sounds slickery.
The warmer and the faster it spins, it kind of secretes some sort of an oil that allows it to continue moving, and it won't heat up. To put it in perspective, nylon bushings very popular in automobile industry, and that's for a reason, because they can absorb a lot of heat and they don't melt with friction. So the rods themselves, hollow carbon fiber. That's what makes them so light, and we've decided to keep them hollow so they float. In fact, I had one of our testers tell me the other day. He goes, "Dude, I plugged this thing onto my bird and the wing fell off right away. What happened?" And I'm going, "Oh shit!" Right? Like, one of my prototype testers is telling me he plugged it into his bird and the wing fell off. And I'm going, nobody else has said that. We got 20 of these things nationwide. I've been testing these things for months. Nobody else has had this issue. This dude just lost his wing. That's a huge deal for me.
Mm-hmm.
So coming back towards getting back to his house, he said that he plugged in the other one that I gave him and didn't have any issues with it. So then he decided to go out and look for his wing. He said he dropped it in 6 feet of water. He had 2 carbon fiber rods attached to it, and he said it was floating just enough under the surface where he could see the polypropylene plate and the nylon rod and was able to find his wing in that depth of water.
Wow.
And so he pulled up the Animator and his wing, got home and tested the one that had fallen off, and he's like, it doesn't fall off. I think he may have just put it in wrong.
Yeah.
Which may have caused that initial issue, but the bottom line of that story is how awesome is it that he dropped his wing and it was floating just enough. Granted, it wasn't at the surface, but it was floating just enough for him to see it subsurface and to be able to find his wing still attached to the Animator. So we did use the carbon fiber rods for that specific purpose. The polypropylene plate's designed to float as well. So all of this stuff, we've taken extra time and precision in trying our best to produce a quality product. Everything that we've done, all of our packaging, I mean, I did everything myself, guys. Like, I haven't had any help with any designing. I did all the custom cases myself, which the case that comes with the pack holds all your spinning wing decoy stuff, dude. It holds your wings, your remotes. You can hold your AA batteries in it. It's got a zipper pocket in the top.
I was checking that out.
All that stuff. Yeah, dude, it's a cool case, even if you don't have the Animator. But then it holds 2 full Animators as well, and all that custom EVA molded foam that's in there, I designed myself. All the packaging. You guys are about to get this product. This thing is about to ship out within this week, and everybody that's listening to this right now, you can hop on and order one. You should have it in a few days. You see it yourself. We put time and effort into making sure that not only the directions were done properly, but the packaging's done properly. The product is designed to last, and the case is cheap. We made the case affordable so you can put your stuff in it. I don't want guys cheaping out and not getting the case. You can get a case for $15. I mean, dude, this is a custom molded EVA foam zippered case that holds all your spinning wing decoy stuff, and we're selling it for what I paid for it, because we're not trying to make $1 million on this project. I want to make sure people have this product in their hand and they can protect it. So when you're coming down to the quality of this stuff, we tried our absolute hardest. We're using the same injection mold company that the NFL uses to make their helmets.
Wow.
We're using the same company that they make they make car parts for GM.
Wow.
This is a legit injection mold company we've been working with for the past 9 months. Samples after prototypes after this and that. Dude, I even did all the design myself. I learned how to use a 3D printer. I learned how to use the 3D software. I printed up all my prototypes, hundreds of prototypes to test and run here at the house before we launched them over to the manufacturer, and they printed them up and tested them on their 3D printers. And then we moved into molding from there. So this project is a long time coming, and I can guarantee you from the very get-go, quality was our number one mindset.
That's awesome, man. And not to if this is like too forward of a question, feel free to be like, maybe. But I gotta think that, has there been a big retail type partner that has reached out to you about this yet?
No, not at all. No.
Oh my gosh.
No, we kind of kept it under the belt for a long time, man. We really wanted to give ourselves a chance, and it's for one reason. And it's not because we don't want to work with a big partner, and it's not because we don't want to get into retail. It's because I wanted to prove myself first. I'm not creating this product and getting this patent and going out and begging for someone to come take it off my hands and give me a bunch of money. I'm going to show you this works. I'm going to prove to you this works, and I'm going to have you ask me for permission to build it. I don't want to go to you and beg you to build it. That's not how I operate.
Man, and hearing you say that, George, there's a sunglasses company that we work with that's called Hook and Bullet Life. And they're in a very similar situation as you. There's been no innovation in the sunglasses industry, and they actually were on our podcast a few weeks ago, but since like the 90s. And they, long story short, are on the brink of something. I mean, they're there. They literally are changing the game as far as like they have waterfowl specific lenses. They have crappie inshore lenses. And it's not just like as simple as like polarized and, this, that, whatever. The way that they literally are developing these lenses is to give certain hunters or certain anglers like a legit advantage in their what they're doing. And their big thing too was like getting the message out, because they're like, if we just try to compete with like a fashion, kind of put us on a corner next to Costa or something else, it's not going to get our message out and like why we're truly different. And I read, like, hearing you say that, they're the same exact way, but with the sunglasses industry. And I respect that, man. It makes total sense. It's really cool.
We just want our piece of the pie. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
the only problem I see with U.S. economics is that there are conglomerates that are so controlling, and Costco's a good example.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know this about Costco, and I shop at Costco. I love Costco, but the brand Kirkland is known for finding semi-successful companies early on and offering them a buyout to sell it as Kirkland, where they move into making millions, if not billions of dollars on a small family's product.
Yeah.
And it gets soaked up and forgotten about. And I just want to try my best to build this company up to what its full potential can be independently. And I know that I'm definitely not going to be able to compete with Lucky Duck. I'm never going to compete with Mojo. Rogers Sporting Goods and all these huge companies that are kind of controlling the game out there. That's not my target for where I want to be in life. I just want my piece of the pie.
Yeah.
I just want enough to buy a house for me and my family so we can live well and I can do what I love, which is waterfowl hunting and fishing.
Yep.
And that's where my goals are, and that's where it stands. And I guess that's why I stand so firmly on the fact that if somebody does try to take this from me, you're trying to take it from my family, and we're going to fight it out because
hell yeah.
We're not asking for a lot. We're not trying to make big moves. We're just trying to get our piece of the pie.
Yeah, man. That's awesome stuff, George. And I mean, I don't know what else to say besides that's just humbling and awesome stuff. And we appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast and share some stuff. That I've listened to you on a couple different podcasts, and I felt like tonight we really got into a couple different things that was kind of unique to just some of the topics we talked about. It was kind of neat to dive into some of these things. So, and I think
I hope you guys stay involved too. I mean, I'd love to come back on and just talk about how it's working. And even if you guys take it out hunting and you just want to have me as a temporary guest to just talk about it, if you got someone else on the show and you want me to hop on so we can all talk about it, I'm open to anything. I love the community, and as I spread the word about this Blue Bird Waterfowl company through these podcasts and through social media, I'm more and more understanding how tight knit this community needs to be. There's so much division in the world today. For us all to stick together and work this project together, I'd absolutely love for you guys to be involved.
Heck yeah, man.
Well, when we get off this podcast, we're gonna get addresses down because you're sending me a couple of those, and we're gonna video it all season long, folks. And we're just gonna be bold enough about it right now. We're gonna film it all season long. We're gonna show you the results. We're going to take it out with people that have been hunting that know Arkansas like the back of their hand when it comes to duck hunting, and we're going to put it out there. We're going to put it on different Mojo, Lucky Duck, whatever. We're going to film it and we're going to show you the results. And I know for sure, I'm so excited about seeing the results that we can help him out with this. It's incredible. So let me ask you this.
Sure.
When do we all go duck hunting together?
You know what, man? I mean, I'm wondering.
I gotta get on some
be able
specific.
to hunt the opener this year, dude, because I got so much going on. We got two good old boys coming over here tonight from South Petaluma. A couple of hunters I know from down there. They're coming up here. We got hunters coming in from all over the county, just fitting in a couple hours here and there just to get this product prepared as quickly as we possibly can. We got a lot of work to do. I'm hoping that I can get out for opener. But hunting is not on my number one priority list right now. Helping hunters is definitely my priority. But I would say, to answer your question, as soon as possible.
Let's make it happen, man. Thank you so much. Your energy is just incredible. And I've said this before on a podcast, Tristan. When you see the success of a business, y'all, there's a reason why a company is successful. And usually, just like Dr. Duck or anybody else, public land hunters, and all you incredible people that don't even get social media or video views that are just awesome public land smashers, you all know it comes with hard work. It does. And George, if you didn't get anything out of this podcast, this guy is an animal. I mean, he's an animal, and he believes he would die for this product. And I think I just love it. I love it. And I can't wait to see where this goes. But I really appreciate you taking time to be with us tonight.
I really appreciate you guys being involved with the launch of this company. I think like I said earlier, we're all in over our heads, man. This is a sink or swim moment. We come together, we spread the word, we get this product out there, and we support the spread of natural sounds moving into the waterfowl community. I think this thing's going to blow up bigger than anybody has ever imagined. And either that or it's going to crash and burn as hard as I said it's going to blow up. It's one or the other, man. But I'm going to be there with the boat as it sinks or swims, and I'm really glad to have you guys on board. So thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on a midnight train.